Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to At Home with Penguin. This is me, Melissa Hemsley, in my home. This is my kitchen today, and I am just very, very happy to be chatting to you. And I'm really thrilled that you've decided to tune in. There's a lot of things you could be doing right now. The world is awash with news and information and great things to tune into. So thank you very much. If you caught up last Tuesday, you'll have seen the amazing Marian Keyes do an At Home with Penguin. And this is a weekly live series. So I can't tell you who's going to be next week's author, but you'll have to tune in. So anyway, this is me. And for the next 30 minutes or however long I can keep you entertained, you will be with me. I'm going to talk through a few things, maybe get you a little bit hungry with a couple of things I've got handy. And also, we're going to do a bit of Q&A at the end. So if you've got any questions, please type them in and then I'll be able to see them up on my screen. And I hope I'll be able to help you. Maybe it's a sort of lockdown larder kitchen conundrum. Maybe you want to tell me what's in your fridge or any kind of thrifty tip you've picked up on. Because if any of you do know me, you know that I love leftovers. I hate waste. I love the absolute satisfaction of using up every last bit in the fridge. That's like my greatest thrill. Let me know if that's your greatest thrill too. Anyway, I'm keeping an eye on what I've got to tell you. So, okay, let's start with this. It's I'm trying to think about what sort of, for me anyway, I'm sort of always quite high functioning anxiety. So right now, I don't know why I'm putting myself through this. I'm anxious. But, it is important sometimes to feel the fear and do it anyway. So for me, one of the things that I've been doing as part of my routine is really tuning into and acknowledging my anxiety. It's an old friend and I nurture it and I look after it. So one of the things that obviously helps, and of course I'm going to say this, is reading. So reading lovely books. In a minute, I'm going to read a bit of this book to you. Can you see it? I'll tell you a bit in a second about it. But I'm reading, I'm cooking. I would like to shout out to a couple of incredible food charities. There's Donate 19, who are cooking for NHS and key workers. There's a group called Olio. They're a food sharing app, and I've been doing Cook for Carers and Cook for Children with them. There's a lot of families all over the UK where the families are unable to or struggling to put together food for lunch that kids normally have at lunchtime. So I've been cooking for them. I've been having my designated walk a day, something like this. For me anyway, I get a lot from it. I feel a lot of connection. I feel when I feel question. But one of the people that inspire you, follow people that are different. And if I'm ever not feeling that lovely vibe from an account, it might not be that, nothing to do with them. I asked one of the panels who they're following, and they said NASA, the NASA account. And we all started following the NASA account. You've got to remember, it's bigger than all of us. Okay, so that's a bit about what I've been up to. If you want to know any more, you can ask me. Any non-book recommendations? Yes. My favorite part of my week, and my boyfriend's and my dog's, is 5 to 7 p.m. every Saturday on Classic FM. And there's a man called Andrew Collins, and he plays movie soundtracks. Does anyone else listen to that? It is the best time of the week. Normally I pour a little glass of wine. I just have it on loud, and I just sometimes just let it all wash over me. And I love listening to it. You're going to have, for example, my favorite book is Sense and Sensibility. And I adore the film adaptation, Ang Lee with Emma Thompson. And the soundtrack is incredible. And the Gladiator soundtrack I love, Braveheart, the Harry Potter waltz. I will say now, Harry Potter is my comfort. So, whether it's Harry Potter, audio, film, book, or the soundtrack, that's it for me. I'd also like to shout out this book, Self-Care for the Real World. I happen to know the authors. One of them is my very first yoga teacher from when I was 18. So that's a long time ago, half a lifetime ago. And they talk about the importance of rituals. And I think if anyone, I'm used to working from home. I'm a writer, written 4 cookbooks. I write for various people, and I like my alone time. So I'm okay with working from home. I'm used to it. But for anyone that's used to being in a bustly office, or they're craving their colleagues, so you might like your colleagues, you might be, I really recommend this idea of rituals. So, setting up the workstation and then closing it down and putting things away, or lighting a candle, or airing windows, I think is a big one. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm now going to read to you from this book. The lovely Penguin group said to me, pick a book that's bringing you comfort. And I managed to give myself lots of anxiety going through all these different books that bring me comfort, because I couldn't pick just one. But this one, A Short Philosophy on Birds, was given to me just before we were advised to isolate. And it was given to me by a lady called Rachel, who lives in Devon. And she said this, she read it in a day, and it made her cry and really moved her. And it's about, the idea is that birds are masters of life. It's written by two French writers. And what lessons on life can we learn from birds? I almost read to you Embracing Our Vulnerability about ducks, but instead I'm going to read to you, just for a few minutes, chapter 8, Living Life to Its Fullest, The Philosophy of the Bathing Hen. Well, hang on, sip of water. Lovely. Okay, here we go. If we watch hens going about their daily business, we may be surprised to notice that in moments of intense satisfaction, they emit a growly sort of purr. A hen is especially likely to make this little growl of pleasure when she's taking a dust bath. It is a sacred moment of the day for her, allowing her to get rid of parasites and look after her plumage. For a bird, having a clean, well-groomed, waterproof plumage is a necessity and a matter of survival. And seeing a hen take a dust bath gives us a sense of what one of the greatest pleasures in the world could be. First, the hen chooses a patch of loose, dusty earth, and then quite simply, she revels in it. It's hard to recognize the hen in this shapeless mass of feathers, one claw here, one there, a wing here, a head there, throwing up showers of earth in order to cover herself entirely with it. Occasionally, the dust cloud becomes still, and the bird sits, eyes half shut, blinking slowly, and she utters her little growl of pleasure. This pause can last for an age, because the hen has all the time in the world. She seems to bask in the warmth of the sun on her feathers, and then she begins again. She rolls around, plunging her head into the loose earth, making clouds of dust with her wings in endless, complicated movements. And even a second hen comes to observe the spectacle and joins the first. She comes and lies next to the bather for a moment, and they stay like that, huddled together, motionless, pressed against the earth. And then the second hen jumps off and runs off in pursuit of an insect. The first doesn't budge from the hole she has made. I'm going to skip for a second to finish. Scratch, scratch, scratch she goes, tossing up vegetation behind her. A peck, a look, and a peck. What has she found on the ground? Some tiny unknown race living down there, invisible to our eyes, but delightful to hers. The hen is an active being, conscientious and bustling. She searches, she scratches, and she moves about. But she also knows how to lounge under the trees for hours. She is here, she is present. Carpe diem, she tells us. So that's just one little bit of chapter 8 of this book. I skipped the bits where you had to do the bird impressions because I didn't feel quite confident about my cooing and growling. But it moves on, the tenderness of the doves. It's absolutely spectacular. And the reason I picked it, one, because it has brought me comfort and does bring me comfort. It makes me smile. But I don't know about you, but when we're allowed out on our designated walks, I just feel like I'm basking in everything I haven't been seeing properly before. And I went a couple of days ago to a hotel to do a food demo there. And I finished quite late, I think about 1, working quite late. And because I'm anxious, I told you, I'm a perfectionist and I'm a control freak. I was like, it took me hours to fall asleep. And then they said, why don't you come to the 4 a.m. dawn walk and listen to the birds? And I thought, absolutely not. I want a nice lie on these expensive hotel sheets. But I got up and, the sun rose and we listened to the birds. And it was one of the best days of my life. So it reminded me of that. But now, shall we do some questions? And very quickly, I wanted to give you also some ideas while we're just waiting for the first questions. I made these just before Easter. Can you see them? I should do the big reveal. Hang on, let me do it again. Ta-da! I made these just before Easter. I made so many and then gave them away to neighbors. And then do you ever get when you're doing the cooking and then you're not interested in it afterwards? But I'm interested in it now because now I'm ready for it again. These are, I'm not sure if you can see, but my mum's watching this and I bet she'll contradict me, but you can't hear her. So I'm the truth teller. I'm the truth teller. When I was younger, I was not allowed Rice Krispie clusters. I'm still angry about it. So I learned to make my own. So if you can see, gosh, they're good. I've collected nuts, seeds. You can collect whatever you like. Coconut, it's a great way to clear out your cupboards. Also, and then you melt chocolate and then you dip it in. You can sprinkle sea salt because sea salt brings out the sweetness in food. You can put on coconut, maybe some cardamom if you're as obsessed with cardamom as I am, cinnamon, and then you fridge them until they're set. But someone said to me on Facebook when I posted the recipe, I don't have nuts and seeds, so I use granola. And they use granola to make them. And I copied their trick and it's perfect. So it just makes these incredible clusters that keep really well in the fridge. And you can use up any leftover chocolate if you have any leftover chocolate. Anyway, there's that. Now we're ready to hear from you. Would you like to share a question or a comment? Or as I say, maybe you've made the most amazing thing from your fridge or freezer. How many of us have been into our freezers and rediscovered gems? Okay, hello. Lucy, hi Lucy. Hi Melissa, what are you cooking the most during lockdown? Oh, well, as I was just saying, Lucy, I have not necessarily been cooking any one thing. I've been letting myself be led by what's in the freezer, what's in the fridge. I've gone through my cupboards and seen there's always things in your cupboards, right, that you look forward to and things that just keep going back and back and back. So I pulled the ones from the back and I'm ready to do good things with them. Probably like lots of you, I've been making banana bread because there's always bananas to be used up. But I will just shout out to one of my recipes, if I may. It's called the Fruit Bowl Bake. And it has got bananas in it, but more to the point, it's got British fruit in it. It's got apples and pears, and it makes the most incredible breakfast bake, also good for a snack. So I've been making that. And for those of you that are struggling to locate flour at the moment, I know lots of us are finding it a little bit hard to get flour. I'd really recommend, I love using ground nuts and seeds, so making almond flour and seed flour, but you can also use oats as flour. So before you roll your eyes, let me just tell you, when you're in a pinch, grinding up some oats in a food processor or blender will make, you can imagine oat flour, and that can work really, really well in lots of baking. So I'll shout out to that. So I've basically been cooking, back to your question, Lucy, things that need using up, and it has really encouraged me to spread my wings. Sorry to get all birdie the birds in. I've been spreading my wings. So it's kept things exciting. Thank you for your question. What have you been cooking, Lucy? Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie. Hi, Melissa. I have loads of ricotta left over in my fridge. Lucky you. I would love ricotta. How can I use it up? Thank you. Okay. Ricotta is a fantastic product because it's delicious in savory and in sweet too. So I'm just going to literally run away with a few things that I would do with it now. My mouth just started watering as I thought about ricotta. Oh, now I'm jealous. Okay, what would I put it in? So if you eat eggs, and if you can get hold of eggs, ricotta is going to make the most amazing frittatas for you. And by that, I mean thick omelettes. and you want to maybe could make something like a fridge raid frittata, which is clearing out anything you've got in your fridge. So cooked broccoli, raw broccoli, cooked carrot, grated carrot, add your ricotta, and it will actually make it puff up in an almost souffle type way. So eat it hot when it comes out the oven. Otherwise, when it cools, it will relax a little bit, but it will still be delicious. So I'd make a frittata. Oh, have you got any flours, any different flours, like chickpea flour, which is like a gram flour, or buckwheat flour? You could make little pizzas, and you could spread ricotta on top. Ricotta with a little bit of honey and salt and pepper and some garlic on it would be amazing on a pizza. For pudding, you could have ricotta with pears as a lovely pudding. You could mix ricotta and feta together. I do this thing called whipped feta, which is yogurt and feta, but you could mix ricotta and feta together. You could make the most luscious, what am I trying to say? Rice pudding by whipping that through. Oh, what else could you do? You could probably make a killer macaroni and cheese, a lovely gratin. Anyone that's had roast lamb over the weekend, you could make a beautiful shepherd's pie and maybe whip some ricotta through the mash, maybe some parsnip mash to go on top or something like that. Does that give you enough ideas? Oh, last one, 5-minute dip. On my website, I've got 10 things you can do with a bag of frozen peas. Well, not 10 things you can do, 10 things you can eat with a bag of frozen peas. And there's a dip. It's peas and yogurt, but you could use ricotta, and you could add some chili and coriander and make a guacamole and some garlic, or you could add some fresh mint leaves or basil leaves and make a lovely dip. Hope you like that, Stephanie. Keep the questions coming in. This is good. Please help, says Hannah. Okay. I'd love some inspiration on what to get teenagers cooking to go with all their lockdown baking. Oh, okay. So they've enjoyed baking. Well, have I said do I think it's Wednesday? For some reason, I think I might have said it's Wednesday. It's Tuesday, but who cares? Doesn't matter anymore. Friday, I always do a thing on Friday called Friday Fritter. You could, Hannah, if you wanted to, bring that forward and just do it Tuesday Fritter Tuesdays. And what I like to do is, it's that funny time of year now. It's a lovely time of year because asparagus is coming and fresh peas are coming and there's wild garlic around. But there's also loads of swede and parsnips and carrots and celeriac and probably veg, if we're being honest. We're more than happy to see the back of because we've been eating it since October with the way the seasons go. So what I would say is, especially if anyone's been getting veg delivered from a different source, like amazing farmers delivering direct to consumers for the first time, you may have ended up with things that you wouldn't ordinarily have gone for. So what to do with them? One thing I like to do is grate them, and then you can add any flour you like, chickpea flour, the oat flour we talked about, or regular flour, or buckwheat flour, quinoa flour, whatever. Mix them with some curry powder and grated veg. And then normally they benefit from sitting for about 20 minutes for the batter to rest. And then just looking as if I grab a frying pan, a medium-sized frying pan, and put some oil down, some ghee, some butter, some coconut oil, and make a thin pancake. And once the bottom's set, which means that you can easily lift it under, I pop it under the grill, and you can make an amazing sort of spice, curry flavored pancake with any veg. And then what you can do is you can pile greens on top. You could wrap it and serve it with a curry. You could serve it with some of Stephanie's ricotta that she could grate garlic into and make a lovely garlic dip on the side, maybe some cucumber, sort of tzatziki style. But I think that's a great way to do it, is grate veg. Basically, if you grate veg, you can get it in anywhere. You can get it into ragus, bolognese, shepherd's pies. I hope that's helped. I think another thing to do for teenagers or any fussy eaters, not saying your teenagers are fussy, sorry, is make great pestos. So kale pestos, wild garlic pestos. I've been growing a bit of rocket. This is rocket here. I've been growing it. It grows so easily. To be honest, my mum will probably say that she planted it. I think it just sort of landed into our garden, got blown in, got seeded, and it's now amazing because I've got this. So I think if you don't even need outdoor space, windowsills, try and grow some salad because it's really satisfying. And I think also I'm always really interested in cutting back on plastic. Salad tends to come, doesn't it, wrapped in plastic. So if we can grow a little bit of salad, it's so fantastic that we can trim it ourselves and be plastic free in that way. I hope some of those suggestions worked. Any more? Fantastic. Hello, Amy. What foods do you recommend to give you more energy and boost your mood? All right, good question. Well, I can speak only really from personal experience. I find different foods make me feel differently on different days. So, last week, I'll give you an example. I felt very mood boosted and positive. The week before, I was feeling really low energy and grounded. And so my comfort foods and my go-to foods were different. But having said that, if I could tell you foods that I naturally, like instinctively reach for whenever I need a lift, I would go for what I would call the holy trinity of ingredients. My mum wouldn't call them that because she's Catholic, but I'm going to say the trio of ingredients that my mum brought me up on. She's from the Philippines: onions, garlic, ginger. And I'm going to throw chili in there as well, because that boosts me. And ginger, if you can get some, great. You can also freeze it and you can grate your ginger, but you can also use ginger powder. If you've ever baked, you've probably got some ginger powder, so don't neglect it. You can stir that into things. They would be three of my key ingredients. What else? I find fermented foods absolutely delicious. Lots of people may not love the smell or taste of fermented foods at first, but I have introduced fermented foods to thousands of people over the last 10 years. I've never met anyone who's not then fallen in love. So I'm talking about sauerkraut. I actually grew up in army bases in England and Germany. So I got into sauerkraut when I was about 6. Sauerkraut, kimchi. Oh my God, I love kimchi. Any kind of fermented foods are really, really great. And also what I'll say is you might have some neighbors making some nearby. Probably everyone's got a sourdough starter they could share around. But yeah, fermented foods I find very energy giving. Also, the sun is coming to get us this week, isn't it? So I'd really recommend not just foods, but drinking too. And by hydrating, I mean drinking. As the days slip into night and where is the day begin? It can be really easy, I find, to have another coffee or have another tea or maybe have a gin and tonic or on a Monday at 4. That's okay if that's what you want to do. But on a personal level, I really enjoy having in the fridge some lovely herbal iced teas. And so I recommend going into your cupboards and seeing if you've got some tea bags that maybe you bought for your mother-in-law coming over one Christmas, but you didn't really like those tea bag flavors, but you bought them for her. And now they're just sitting there getting old, or whatever it is. Maybe it's a tea you do love. Brew it, chill it, slice up some apple, pear, citrus, a great way of using up citrus peel, herbs, especially mint stems and things that you wouldn't put into food. Ice them, squeeze a bit of honey if you want. And they just are really, when you open the fridge, because we're all opening the fridge at the moment because we don't want to work from home, we're opening the fridge and we're seeing like gorgeous, colorful and delicious drinks. And we all know that when we're dehydrated, we don't concentrate as well, or we get grumpy, and we're all living with people who we don't want to irritate, or we don't want them to irritate us. So first port of call is make sure everyone's drinking enough water and make it taste exciting. By using up fruit peels, herb stems, things you've already got in the cupboards. A last one. Okay, last question. Thank you, everybody, for your questions. Hi, Rhonda. Melissa, do you have any tips on preserving the shelf life of fresh herbs? Yes. Okay, so do you, Rhonda, have ice cube trays? Now, ice cube trays, if you have got them, and freezer space, maybe there may be a lot of competition for freezer space and ice cube trays at the moment. As we said, the sun is coming. So if you can, save one ice cube tray or save a little space in your freezer for freezing herbs. So what I would do is, in my head, I split them up into soft herbs and hardier herbs. By soft herbs, I mean dill, tarragon, mint, basil, coriander, parsley. They're my softies. My harder ones, I'm calling like oregano, thyme, sage, rosemary. Those ones, the hardest, I mean, you can use them interchangeably, but in my normal hard ones, I will mash them up with some butter, maybe some garlic, maybe there's an anchovy left over, maybe put anchovy in your lamb on Sunday and you've got jar of anchovies left, you could mash up some anchovy or some chili or some lemon zest and maybe some rosemary and a big sprinkle of salt. Roll it, sausage roll it with some butter, and then you could slice it up, put some in the fridge and some in the freezer. And that is now lovely butter that you could put on a baked potato, on some roasted veg, on some fish or meat if you eat them. So there's that. For your other herbs, be they soft or hard or whatever, you could blitz them into pestos, and then you could put them in the freezer too. Or, to be honest, what I tend to do is, look, this is my whole kitchen. It's basically jars of stuff. This is actually chili, vinegar, and olive oil. So an important thing to do when you keep things is make sure there's a nice top layer of oil on the top, because the oil will basically help serve everything that's underneath. And also, of course, rule in life, no double dipping. So don't let people dip the same old spoon in. But I would maybe have this with fresh herbs, even some kale, some spinach, some watercress, wild garlic, loads of garlic, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar, but make sure you've got this top layer of olive oil, and that can sit for a good while. And I think, lots of supermarkets or cookery books have to say, a week or so on. But really, now is the time to use our senses. Use your nose. Does it all look okay? Has it not been double dipped? Is there a top layer? And then go crazy. So I'm saying pesto, but when I mean pesto, I mean things like chimichurri. If you type into, if you Ecosia or Google search Melissa Hemsley chimichurri, Melissa Hemsley salsa verde, or anyone's names, you're going to come up with loads of different ways that you can use up greens. Rocket salsa verde, watercress chimichurri, wild garlic pesto, anything green. And then you can add it to salads, to pastas, on top of fish. You can have it as a dip. Very good question, because actually our fresh herbs, we really don't want to neglect them, because we need to keep our fresh. And going back to that question from before from Amy, fresh foods as well as frozen foods and green foods are definitely ones we should be looking for. It's great to eat a whole rainbow of colors, but definitely I think greens are ones that we sometimes neglect. So the more greens, the better. How's that? I think we might be coming to the end, I'm afraid. Have I talked your ear off? Hopefully not. And so, well, thank you everybody for your questions. And now, just to finish off, what can I tell you? I'll remind you of my special book, not mine, I didn't write it. A Short History of Birds, 2 French writers, but it's been translated. I bet it's stunning in the original French. I can't read French, GCSE French only. You can find me at melissa.hemsley on Instagram, at Melissa Hemsley Cooks on Facebook, and at Melissa Hemsley on Twitter. And At Home with Penguin, our lovely friends at Penguin, is going to continue. It won't be me next week. It will be somebody else every single Tuesday. So sign up. I'm very excited. I think I know who it's going to be, but I can't say. I'll be joining in as well. And remember that you can ask all the authors lots of questions before and after. And I'm going to head off now. So thank you very, very much for tuning in, keeping me company in my kitchen. And thank you everyone at Penguin. Have a lovely week, everybody. Take care.